there was a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes as well, with rows going on all the time, and it didn't make for very good atmosphere, I suppose.
So you were quite aware then at the time that there was problems behind the scenes. I just wondered if you as the guest cast were kept out of that, but it doesn't sound like that was the case.
Well, I couldn't do anything about it really, because it wasn't my remit. But John Nathan Turner and Colin Baker, they were having rows all the time, and then we'd have to do the scene. We were so glad to get into the potteries. I was so glad to get out of the studio into the potteries and Campus Hands, of course. Very enjoyable, but it was a terrible atmosphere. And I thought Doctor Who was finished when that lasted. And it did finish for some time. I thought it was finished for good. I thought, farewell.
So, as an actor, you're on a show for 14 weeks that maybe isn't as happy an experience as you thought it was going to be. On that trial set, how did you professionally manage to keep your energies up and keep your keep your energy up really, and pitch that performance?
Well, you have to forget about things. It's like if you've got family problems and you're an actor, you've still got to go on and act. And sometimes acting is a kind of therapy, which takes the place of what's happening in your private life. Sometimes the private life can get a bit too much for you, but generally you've got to just carry on. And it was. I just love working with Linda Bellingham and Colin, and I remain friends with Colin even now, to this day.
And Linda, of course, you had a good relationship with her.
Very.
Of course, you've had an opportunity through Big Finish to reunite with Bonnie, Colin, and Linda on One Audio. How has that been in studio with them after so long?
Well, to be back with, that was marvellous. Although I hadn't done the Valeyard for a long time before Big Finish asked me to do the first book. So I thought, hang on, what did I sound like? And so I watched some of the, and I got it within about 3 or 4 minutes. My daughter, who is now nearly 30, used to love my maniacal laugh in that. She used to say, "Well, can you do that laugh again, please, Daddy?" And
As an actor, do you find yourself, are you one of these actors who stands in front of the mirror when you're preparing to test out voices and expressions?
No.
Simple answer there.
I was a great fan of Richard Burton when I was much younger, and at the time I went to drama school, and Burton was about 12 years older than I was, and I liked him a hell of a lot. But I remember once I was acting something, and one of the professors said afterwards at the rehearsal, he said, you're quite good, he said, but like Richard Burton, you're listening to your own voice. And I think Burton did that quite a lot. And it was one of the best notes I've ever had, because I was thinking at the back of my mind, how am I going to say that? Instead of playing the part, if you understand what I mean. And Burton, in certain films, was just playing that, oh yes, and he had a fantastic voice. And he did some marvellous performances in film, but he also did some absolutely appalling ones. And it was the drink, I think. And he tended to despise acting. I've got off the track again, haven't I?
Well, that's absolutely fine.
I mean, what was John Hurt playing in Doctor Who only last year? He was playing the evil side of the Doctor, which is, to my mind, is the Valeyard. And the Valeyard was mentioned quite a few times. I keep saying at these functions, I'm not begging for work. Often, certainly, other writers don't accept the fact that I'm the Valeyard, and all the you lovely Doctor Who fans know I am. I now sign autographs where you've got all the Doctors and me at the end with a question mark. A lot of people have got photographs of all the Doctors and me with a question mark over me, so they know.
I remember being outside a hotel in Swansea one night with yourself and Peter Purvis, and a friend James had a white t-shirt, a lot of people seen it with Hartnell and Troughton and Pertwee and Baker, and everyone listed, and he got you to mark a pen in your name, and Jayston in the right place, which I thought was brilliant, and he's never watched it since.
Of course, yes, the regenerations.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going again at the end of the month.
Oh, are you? You're going on?
Have you ever been to regenerations in Swansea?
Yeah.
No? It's a long way away from here.
Oh, we're allowed to plug other people's conventions, but it is good, isn't it? It's a good event. It's well worth going if you...
Everybody thought it was butter, even though the advert was going out. St Ivor Gold. And eventually I said to the director, I said, listen, I'm starting to sound like Laurence Olivier. Gold from St Ivor. I was working with Olivier at the time, and I told him about this, and he said, oh, don't run, just take the money and run. Because he'd done an advert for a camera in America where he got paid a hell of a lot of money. Nobody ever bought this camera, it was a waste of time, but the adverts won a lot of awards. It's the way it goes, like Morecambe and Wise in an advert, you can't remember what they were advertising. The advert won awards, and the actual product was...
You also told me once that you were involved in the PG Tips adverts, the famous ones using the chimpanzees. You weren't the voice of the chimpanzees, were you?
Yeah.
You were?
No, I was the voiceover.
Ah.
Well, anybody old enough to remember the PG?
Yeah.
Peter Sellers was the first person to do the advert for PG Tips, and he got £100 for it. That was it, in 1956, I think it was. I was asked to do it, and I did the voice of, my name, I had to say my name is Bond, Brooke Bond. And I remember meeting, one day they had some chimps in the studio, and the studio was getting very hot. And I felt a bit sorry for them because the chimp owner kept smacking them over the ear. Like, if you did that to children nowadays, you get locked up. But the chimps, and I'd got a pen, and one of the chimps got hold of my hand. It didn't hurt, but it was in like a grip of iron. So I realised he wanted a pen, so I moved the pen out of that hand and gave it to him, and he released the grip. But one of those chimps was about 14 when he did it. It was highly successful, actually. And he sold more PG whatever they're called.
PG Tips. It was, it ran for years, isn't it? That campaign was probably award-winning campaigns. I'm assuming that was one of them. It's certainly one of the most memorable. But acting wasn't your first career choice, was it? I might say you were originally an accountant for the National Coal Board.
Yeah.
How did the vast change in career come about?
Well, I don't know. I did national service, and then I joined an amateur group in Nottingham, which had Ken Loach, Tom Baker, John Bird, and Sue Pollard. But I didn't think I stood much chance because the Nottingham company at that time had some marvellous actors in it. And it wasn't until about 2 or 3 years later when I did an audition and I managed to get a scholarship to go to Guildhall. But accountancy seemed a sort of safe thing to go into. I didn't like it. It was Bestwood Colliery in Nottingham. I think it's gone now, like most of the pits in this area in Nottingham. Played cricket for Gedling Colliery.
So when you decided to become an actor then, you went down the drama school route. I assume Guildhall is based in London.
Yeah, I was lucky to get a scholarship, actually. I think I decided then I wanted to be an actor. So I left the Coal Board and joined the Nottingham Fish Market, where I had to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and finish around about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but I was getting paid about double the amount of money. So I was going to pay my way through drama school and work in a Chinese restaurant in the evenings, sort of thing, which a lot of them did.
So how did you find your student days in London? Did you fully embrace student life?
Yeah.
The drama schools back in the day were notoriously strict though. How did you balance the sort of the student lifestyle with being there on time and not missing anything? Because I know it was a sort of campus, wasn't it? You missed two sessions you were out of the school.
Well, it was very strange. I mean, student life, when that was 1960 to 62. And talking about the swinging 60s, the so-called swinging 60s, I don't think, started until about 1964. Because it certainly wasn't swinging when I was in London, or 60. It started about 64 and finished in 73, because the Beatles came along in 63 and the Rolling Stones a bit later. So, and in those days, because it was before drugs, as far as I know, no single person in that whole, in the Guildhall were on drugs or anything. It was booze, but then you couldn't afford to drink all that much.